Okay, linear 3 test review. Okay, your test is on Friday, October 11th. Okay, so number one, so what is the domain for this function? Well, I know domain is all my x. It's all possible x values, and this is continuous. So I'm going to go farthest left because it's, oop, that should be a big R, sorry. Left to right, okay? So I'm going to work my way left to right. So knowing that, my farthest left is -2. And that's with an open dot. So I'm going to do less than, and I'm talking about domain, which is x. My farthest right is 4, always using less than, and it's equal to because it's a closed dot. Okay, and we can almost like even cross off our y values because we're only talking about domain. We're only looking at the x numbers. Okay, so knowing that, this one is worded a little different than what we're used to. So what we're going to do is we're going to read it from letter to number. So x -2, this is a less than sign, but think of the alligator mouth, it's eating the x, so x is bigger than -2, x is greater than -2. So which one says greater than -2? That is A. Okay, then we're going to read it from x, ooh, that's a new marker, a new pen, sorry, x to 4. Okay, so x is less than or equal to 4, because it's eating the 4, 4 is bigger, so x is smaller. X is less than or equal to 4, so less than or equal to 4 is D, which is here. Okay, look at number 2. Number 2 throws us off a little bit, but again, we're only looking at domain, which is x values. So I'm going to cover up my y values because I don't want them to throw you off. We're only looking at the numbers on x. So knowing that, we want to know which graph has a domain of all real numbers less than 2. Well, where is x2? Well, x2 is here. Okay, so I know that A and B are my options because both of those have x is 2. This does not have x have 2, so I know C and D are not my answer because those are not at x is 2. Well, less than 2, I want you to realize left is to the less, right is greater, because bigger numbers, 5 is bigger than 2, so greater numbers to the right. 0 is less than 2. -8 is less than 2, so this way is my less. So I want the graph that's going towards the less than lines, or less than side, which is A. A is going to the left, which is less, so my answer is A, because it's less than 2. Okay, look at number 3. Okay, number 3 says, which choices are true about the graph? The domain is blank, the range is blank, and the graph is blank. Well, let's start with the end. The graph is discrete or continuous? Well, I know it's discrete because it's dots only, no lines. Okay, so my graph is discrete. So I know I can cross off A and B because those are continuous answers. Okay, so domain is my x value, so I'm only looking at numbers on the x line. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is C. That is my domain. And now I'm going to look at y values. Y values are, I'm only looking at my y. So this is 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150. So that is D. Okay, look at number 4. 4 says a senior citizen group is making fruit baskets and they plan to sell them at a fundraiser. Well, think about it this way. We need to know discrete versus continuous. And I know that if I'm selling fruit baskets, I'm going to count how many I sell, not measure. So this is discrete. So I know that A and B are wrong because those are continuous answers. Okay, and then anytime, especially in word problems, I'm going to build a table. And it says they are selling selling the baskets for $35 each. So we're talking about money and we're talking about number of baskets. So I have to figure out which one of those is X and which one of those is Y. Sorry, that's something else way. Okay. Well, I know that we've talked about how Y is always what comes next. I have to sell the baskets to get the money. So what comes first is selling the baskets. So number of, I'm just going to put B for baskets. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading. If they estimate they can sell between 15 and 20 baskets, Y means I can sell 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20. then I need to know what is the domain and what is the range. Well, domain is my x values, and I already have that here. So domain is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Therefore, D has to be my range, which I could come up with an equation, but I don't have any other options. Okay, let's look at number 5. Does the graph represent a function? Well, first off, we do the vertical line test, and if it ever touches more than once, then it's not a function. And it doesn't matter where I draw it, it never touches more than once, so this is a function. 6 asks true or false. So f of x equals 2x minus 8 says f of 2 equals negative 8. So I want to know if I plug in x is 2, because this, if it's inside, is telling me x equals 2. If I plug in x is 2, does it equal negative 8? Well, when I plug it in, I get 2 times 2 minus 8. And if I go to my calculator, over here, I'm going to type, sorry, I have to get my life together, 2 times 2 minus 8. I get negative 4. So f of 2, might help if you can see what I'm writing. F of 2 equals negative 4. Does it equal negative 8? No, so this is false. Now, another way you can do this one is you can, I'm going to drag this to one side, and I'm going to, I don't know if that worked. No, it did not. Okay, that doesn't let me go any further. Okay, here. Okay, so we're going to plug in my f of x here. So my equation, the exact way I see it, f of x equals 2x minus 8. And in the second line, I can type f of 2, and it equals negative 4, not negative 8. So again, it proves to me that it's false. Okay, let's look at number 7. I know you can't see the whole question, but you have it on your paper. You can see all my answer choices. Milan has a car that gets 30 miles per gallon. Her car has 12-gallon tank. The function f of x equals 12 times 30 minus 60x models how long Milan can drive her car until the tank is empty at 60 miles per hour. Well, if you read any of that, I'm glad that it gave me the equation, because I would not have been able to come up with that on my own. Okay, I'll scroll out just a little bit. Okay, so it gives me my equation. So I'm going to type that in my calculator. The exact way I see it. So I know this, okay? And it's asking me domain and range. Well, I'm going to build a table every single time. Y'all will learn I love tables. And I'm going to say, well, look, it says miles per hour. So this is my y per x. So x represents hours. Y represents miles. So I know, I don't know what I'm putting in there, but I know my equation. And I know negatives don't make sense. Well, all real numbers means that negatives would be in there, so I know that's not my answer. So we're going to click here on my calculator, click the table, and we're going to erase my negatives, because I know that I can't have negative hours. Okay, and I'm going to come down here, I'm going to keep my graph going, my table going. And then if I get to 7, I have negative 60 miles. Well, I can't drive negative miles, so I'm going to erase that point. That point does not make sense here. Well, if I look at my table, I know my biggest, or my smallest, it starts at 0, and my biggest x is 6. And when x is 0, y is 360, and when x is 6, y is 0. So I know that my domain is my x values, is between 0 and 6. Well, this says between 0 and 360, 0 and 6, 0 and 30, so I know B has to be my answer. And I can even double check my range. I see that my range, remember, smallest to biggest is 0 to 360, so that one worked as well. Okay, look at number 8. Okay, so it says which inequality best represents the graph shown. Well, again, I'm finding my range. Okay, range is my y. So I'm going to cross off all my numbers on the x value, because I'm only looking at y values. We're not looking at those numbers. So therefore, I'm going robot. So bottom to top. So bottom to top. I hope if you can see what I'm writing. Okay, bottom to top. Okay, so knowing that, I need to start at the bottom, and the lowest this graph goes is right here at -7 to y, and then I always use less than, and I'm not going to use equal to because it's an open dot. My highest point, my top, is 3, and again, I always use less than, and this is going to be equal to because it's a closed dot. So I know that it has to have -7 and then 3. So I know I'm between C and D. So I can cross off A and I can cross off B. And I want you to realize that Y can also be written as f of x. So that is interchangeable. Well, -7 does not have an underline and 3 does. This has -7 has an underline, which is not true. So my answer is C. Okay, look at number 8. It says identify the graph with an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -1. Well, x-axis is here. And I need the x-axis to have an intercept of +3. Well, here's +3. So my only graph that has that is this one. So let's double check our y-intercept of -1, which is true. So my answer is A. Okay, we're going to graph 10. Oh, it doesn't. Just pull it back over. Okay, here we go. We're going to graph this so we can look at it and talk about it. So I'm going to type it the exact way I see it. F of x equals 8. And I see that this is what my graph looks like. And it doesn't matter how far over I go, it never stops going left or right. So if I were to sketch that on my paper, I know that it looks like this at a height of 8, and it goes to the right forever and the left forever. So knowing that, we're here. Well, domain is my farthest left to my farthest right. Well, if it goes left forever and right forever, I know that that's all real numbers. So domain is A. My range, well, it never changes from a height of 8. So it can't be less than 8 and it can't be greater than 8 because it never changes. So it's just 8. Okay, if y'all get number 11 wrong, I think I'll cry. Okay, it says, what is the 0? Zeros are x-intercepts because that's where your equation equals 0. So my x-intercept, because this is my x-axis, is 4. If I have to write it as a point, is 4, 0. Okay, let's look at number 12. Okay, number 12, we have to use here. We can't do this one in the calculator. I've seen a lot of people trying to do this one in the calculator, and you can't because we don't have an equation. We would have to have an f of x equation, and I don't have that. I have a graph. So what I want you to remember is that when it's inside is x. So this is giving me x equals 1. This one's giving me x equals 2. And this one, f of x equals -4, is giving me y equals -4. So x equals 1, this is my x-axis. 1 is here, so I'm going to draw up and see the height. And the height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're like me, I'm blind. I have to count it because I cannot see those numbers. X is 2, is here. And again, I'm going to draw up. And I see that that is a height of, I think, 8. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. And then I have y is -4. So now I'm looking on the y-axis for -4, which is here. And that touches at x is -2. Oh, I didn't even look at my answer choices. I do have answer choices. So I want you to realize that A is 5, which is B. 8, which is E. And F, which is -2. I crossed them out, but I used them. Okay, looking here, it's another true or false, but this time from a graph. So I know that this is giving me x equals -2, and I want to know if it's a height of 8. So x is -2 here. And if I look, that's a height of 1, 2, 3. So I get f of -2 equals 3. So that's not 8, therefore this is false. Okay, remember you can also write it as a point. Remember x is on the inside, y is on the outside, and if I plot the point -2, 8, that's not on my line, so again, it's still false. Okay, 14 and 15 are the problems that will require work. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. So I'm going to show you one way on 14, one way on 15. One of the ways to do this is super simple. You're just going to plug it in. So if I want f of 10, I know that's telling me x equals 10, and I'm going to replace x with 10 using parentheses. So 3 times 6 minus 10, and I'm going to see what that equals. So if I can find my mouse, I'm going to type 3 parentheses 6 minus parentheses 10, and it tells me my answer is negative 12. So I know f of 10 equals negative 12. That's all the work I would need to see. Really, if you just wrote this, I would take that as well. Now, if you want to do it in the calculator, you type the equation the exact way you see it right here. In the first line, f of x equals 3 parentheses 6 minus x. Okay, and it graphs it. And then I type exactly what I see when it says find. So f of, is it negative 4? Yes, negative 4. And it tells me my answer is 30. So I know f of negative 4 equals 30. Now this is not the work I need to see. That's my answer. So if you do this method, you have to tell me, I typed up here in line 1, I typed my equation f of x equals 3 minus 6 minus x in line 1, and in line 2 I typed f of negative 4, and it gave me the answer 30. And you have to write in detail. Don't just say calculator. That will not get you your credit for showing work. If you explain to me in detail what you did in the calculator, that will give you credit for work. Okay, so let's look at number 16. 16 said, oh man, Kanye graphed the function y equals 6x minus 3. Which function would show a vertical stretch? So what I want you to remember is a vertical stretch is steeper. It's a bigger a or slope. Okay, so bigger slope. Well, my slope here is 6. 4 is smaller. 4 is smaller. 10 is bigger. 4 is smaller. So I know B is my answer. I can also check this one in my calculator. It's hard to check your left, right, up, down in your calculator because they can look the same. But slopes we can definitely check. So 6x minus 3. There's my original line. And then if I type what I think my answer is, y equals 10x minus 3. Do you see how they have the same y-intercept? Because that didn't change, but it got steeper. My blue line is steeper. If I would have checked one of my other lines, 4, you see that's flatter. So I know that's not the answer because that would have been a vertical compression. Okay, so there's how you can check that one in your calculator. Okay, look at number 17. 17 says, how does the graph of g of x equals x minus 6 compare to the f of x equals x? Well, I know that this is an outside change. I hot is horizontal, and it's inside your parentheses. Okay, and it's opposite. So to the right is minus, to the left is positive. Outside is vertical, and it's exact. So up is plus, down is minus. So I have an outside change of minus 6. Minus on the outside, O stands for outside, is down 6. So which one shows me below means down? So this is A. Remember, to make it steeper, you have to have multiplication in the front of x. So those are wrong. And it's minus 6, so it did not go up. Okay, you could have also checked this one in the calculator because it only has, oh, I thought I lost it. That made me super nervous. It only has an up and down change or a steepness change. So you could have done f of x equals x, and that's the original. And then here you could have done g of x equals x minus 6, and I see that it went down 6. 6 units below. Okay, 18 I do believe is harder to check in your calculator because it has left or right and up and down, and those can kind of look the same. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do it by hand. So again, we're looking at the I hot over. So it tells me it went left 6. Left is inside the parentheses. Okay, so I know I'm going to have x and 6, and then to the left is plus. Well, this has x plus 6 inside. This is x plus 6. This has x minus 6, minus 6. So those are wrong. And then it says down 3. Well, down is an outside change, and it's going to be minus. So which one has minus 3? Is this one. That has times negative 3. That is different. This would affect the slope. This affects up and down. So this is C is your answer. Okay, look at number 19. Number 19 is another problem you have to show your work. There's not a lot of work to show, so I need you to pay super close attention so you know what that looks like. It says a linear equation has an x-intercept of 12. Well, let's go ahead and plot that. Well, I know that my x-intercept is 12. And if, oh, might help if I type it right. If I'm not sure if that's my x-intercept, well, I could type it. And did it end up on my x-axis? Yes. If I accidentally thought it was 0, 12, do you see how that ended up on my y? So I know that's wrong. Okay, so I know I needed to tell y'all the point. You need to tell me for work 12, 0. Because that's given to you and I need to know that. I also know I have the slope, which is my m, and it wants to know my y-intercept, which is b. So I need to use my y equals mx plus b equation. So while I know y equals m is negative 2/3, x comes after slope, plus or minus something. I don't know the y-intercept. That's what I'm trying to find. So that's where we're going to use our calculator. So this is the work I need to see. Y equals negative 2/3 x, and then I needed to go through that black point. So I know I need it to shift up. So I'm going to do plus, and I can guess 6. That's not high enough. I need a bigger number. I can guess 7, not high enough, 8, and now it goes through the point, which is my thing. But I need to know my y-intercept. Remember this, whatever you add is your y-intercept, or you can click, it's 8. So I know 8. Now, if it's multiple choice, I want you to remember that point is 0, 8, or if it's not, you're just adding 8, either way. Okay, look at number 20. It says, okay, these are all function questions. So does this map below represent a function? The answer is no, because 6 has 2 arrows. So that means 6 repeats, and remember, x is not allowed to repeat. Okay, so x cannot have 2 arrows. Y can have a bunch of arrows. See how 10 has 2 arrows? That's fine. X can only have 1 arrow. Okay, looking at 21, is this a function? Why or why not? Well, I have -9, -2, 0, 0. Well, 0, x cannot repeat. So this is not a function. Cross off my yeses. And it says we don't care about y, so it's B. Okay, looking at 20, it says, is the following set a function? We're only looking at x's, and remember, points are written x, comma, y. So x, 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 x. I have 1, 0, -2, 1. Well, look, the ones match, so this is not a function because x repeated. Okay, last page. Okay, look at number 23. Okay, this is one that I really want y'all to focus on. It says, which function is best represented by the graph g? Well, f to g changed and it got steeper, which I want you to remember is a vertical stretch. The y-intercept did not change, so there's no plus or minus inside or outside. There should be no adding or subtracting, so we can cross off this one. Well, I know g of x is not x because x is what cuts it in half diagonally. That's this one. So I know I have f of x equals x, but not g, so that's wrong. To make it steeper, I need a bigger number, bigger a. And a of f, because it's just going up 1/1, is 1. So I need my slope to be bigger, which is 3. So D is my answer. This is one you can check in your calculator because it's only talking about steepness. So if I know f of x equals x, and then I type g of x equals f of x, that's the same line, so I knew that was wrong. And I type 3, did it get steeper? Yes. Okay, so that is correct. Okay, last one. Don't let this one be hard. Let this one be easy. So I know Dr. XY needs her ID. Okay, I should have put XY here. Oh well. Okay, so knowing that, domain, range. X is domain. Y is range. And that's my answer so far, or my label, sorry. So it says the domain represents the feet above the ocean floor. Well, domain represents minutes. This is feet above ocean floor, so that's wrong. The range represents the feet above ocean floor. Well, so far, yes. Range, feet above ocean floor, so that's a yes. The range represents minutes. Range does not minutes. The domain represents seconds. This says minutes, not seconds, so that's wrong. So C is my answer. Okay, good luck on your test. Bring me any questions before class or before school tomorrow. Have a great day.